back, ladies and gentlemen, with another episode of the Ball Collective Show. We're back in here today. Free agency has concluded. We are past the height of the summer league, so we got some things to talk about. We got some things to review today. Might be a shorter episode in total, but there are some things that have happened that are definitely worth talking about. So we are back here today to touch on them. So today, I thought that we would just kind of review free agency, give our winner and loser teams of free agency, as there was some pretty significant player movement. A lot of the big names ended up going back to their former teams, but we did see some big names uh, get moved as well. And also touch on what we've seen so far from the Summer League. Probably the most exciting Summer League that we have seen, maybe even ever. It's, kind of, I I had FOMO. I had FOMO for not being in Vegas. I wanted to be in Vegas over this past weekend to watch Victor and watch Brandon Miller and Scoot and some of the second year guys too have really come out and put on a show. It's looked like a really really fun time in Vegas, and the summer league's been really entertaining. Would you say, Jacob?
Yeah, it has. I'd really like to go one year, watch a lot of the like rookies and like you said, second year guys play. It's I thought it'd be a little underwhelming outside of a few players, especially after that first, not the first set of games, but like the Las Vegas because there's a few injuries. But other than that, it's still been pretty good. It's been a fun watch.
Yeah, let's just go ahead and start with summer league. Let's just go ahead and touch on what we've seen so far from summer league. Obviously, we know Victor was the main attraction. He comes out game one, puts up kind of a stinker based off of the expectations that were set for him going into that game. So we see all these takes, all this buzz, all these narratives come out about Victor after game one. It was pretty despicable. It was pretty despicable to say the least. What we saw, the discourse around Victor, and he kind of shut all that up game two a couple days later. Jacob, what did you see from Victor? I want to know what you saw from Victor that really excites you going forward, and not just into this next season, but for his career. What excites you the most about Victor Wembanyama?
I think the versatility he has, of course, that's like a big thing. But I think my biggest thing is his rim protection because he can cover so much ground. He blocked, I know one, but he might have blocked a few threes. Just he'd be able to get up, contest. He can make up ground if he gets not beat off the dribble, but even beat off the dribble or he help defense. He can cover a lot of ground and get up to get a block. So I think whatever if he has any offensive struggles or anything, he's still going to be one of the better rim protectors this year. And
Yeah.
I guess from now on, barring any injuries.
Yep. A lot of those characteristics we knew would come with Victor. We knew the rim protection would obviously be a staple in his game. I think the take that we've seen from the very small sample size of him that we have seen so far is he's going to be shut down for the rest of summer league. Kind of expected.
Yeah.
That usually happens with the top players. But what impressed me about Victor the most at his height that we saw in really the second game, he showed it a little bit more than the first game. He had one play in particular where he put the ball on the floor, and it's just crazy that we're breaking down one specific play in a summer league game. But the flashes, man. Summer league, you judge off of flashes more than anything, I would say. But he put the ball on the floor, did a little in between the legs crossover move, and raised up into a mid-range jump shot from about 19, 20 feet. Elbow jumper, a little fadeaway elbow jumper, and it was money. From that point, after I saw him make that jump shot, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's legit. He's for real.
Yeah, I think I good.
I would say you might know what I'm talking about, Jacob.
Yeah.
But it was so pretty, and he shoots the ball kind of high. I didn't know that he shot the ball as high as he did. But yeah, Victor, the way that he can shoot off the dribble as a 7'5" big is pretty unbelievable. He got some offensive rebounds. I liked what I saw from him in the offensive glass, even chasing some of his own misses. man, the potential is all there for him. He knocked down some threes in that second game, and like you said, the defensive presence, blocking shots. He blocked a three in both of his first two games as well, which is something that we may see as a common theme for him. But
Yeah,
yeah, it was just after I saw him make that shot, I was like, oh yeah, this guy's what he was advertised to be.
yeah. Not many, if any, players can block his shot. Uh, it's like maybe one or two, but I think I also like that they're playing him at the four a little bit more
Yeah,
than like just the five. So I like that. Kind of gives him a little bit more leeway on offense and defense to kind of move around. But yeah, I'm ready for regular season to see how what Pop does, how he kind of inserts him into the lineup.
yeah, and I think that's a big thing that needs to be remembered. Like you said, Greg Popovich is not the coach of the summer league team. He will be the coach of the regular season San Antonio Spurs team, and he will put Vic in spots to dominate.
Yeah,
Along with that, he'll have real NBA players instead of these G League guys who just come together over the past like 2, 3 weeks to form this squad. He'll have some decent playmakers in Trey Jones. He'll have some solid wings to space the floor in Devin Vassell and Keldon Johnson. They picked up a couple guys in free agency to come off that bench. So the Spurs will have a pretty solid, rounded team. I'm not saying that they'll have great team success. I don't expect them to make the playoffs, um, but I don't think it's going to be a thing where Vic just gets absolutely hounded game one. I don't think that he'll draw immediate double teams. I don't think that he'll have all this defensive attention on him that we've seen over these first two games, and maybe some of that will still come, but I don't think to the extent that we've seen so far. And I think that that will really benefit him. And I
yeah,
think that we'll be able to see even parts of his game that we haven't seen yet be unleashed as he's 19, 20 years old. So he's still getting better. Um, yeah.
yes. Ready, I'm ready. Ready for regular season start. I just want to see how he plays against actual, not well, yeah, actual NBA players like high level talent.
Yeah. Past Wimby, though, Brandon Miller, the second overall pick, he had some pretty not so great games as well, especially early on. Got into some foul trouble, did not shoot the ball very efficiently. Um, it's important to note that summer league should not be the indicator of what a rookie or second year player's potential season, a following season or career path is going to look like. So you should definitely not base it off of what you see in a few summer league games. With that being said, though, Brandon Miller did raise some eyebrows, and not in a good way in his first couple of games. But I think he put a lot of that to rest after last night's game. Last night's game, he scored 26 points, shot
Yeah,
over 50% from the field and from three. And in watching that game as he played against the Blazers, um, he had some pretty elite buckets. He attacked the rim with force, got to the free throw line, dominated from the mid range game. And Brandon Miller is going to knock down his threes. He will knock down his threes. I know he hasn't shot it well in summer league, but he's a guy who I think at the height of his career is going to be a 40% 3-point shooter. So I don't think that there's a lot to be worried about with Brandon Miller. I get that he had some not so great games, and maybe it can be discussed whether the Hornets should have taken Scoot Henderson at 2 over him,
yeah,
as we'll get into in a minute. But I've still seen some good flashes from Brandon Miller as well, especially in last night's game.
yeah. Like I said, you can't base everything off summer league because it's kind of, I guess they're getting used to, I guess not the NBA play, but back into the play with a bunch of you just thrown in with different guys. You have like a few days, maybe a week to get used to each other. But yeah, he raised some eyebrows, but I think he'll be fine.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I don't think there's anything to worry about with Brandon Miller, especially on a Hornets team that's going to play fast. They're going to, you know, he's going to have the benefit of playing alongside LaMelo Ball. And on that Charlotte Hornets Summer League team, it's got a lot of shot chucking, kind of selfish playing guards, and James Bouknight and Bryce McGowan's and Nick Smith Jr., who had a really good game yesterday. But Nick Smith Jr.'s MO is not to play make first. He's a scoring guard. So alongside LaMelo Ball, I think Brandon Miller is going to really benefit from having a playmaking first
Yeah,
type player, and I think that we'll see that in his offensive production
yeah,
for sure.
that'll really help.
Yeah. Moving into Scoot Henderson, we'll talk about Scoot Henderson very shortly because we only saw about 2 3/4 of ball from him. But as a fan of Scoot Henderson's team, I just got to mention how impressive he was. Um, the way he got to his spots in the mid range, he knocked down a three, his explosiveness off the dribble, it's all there. It's all there. And it's a shame. I don't expect us to see him the rest of summer league. I know that there's a possibility that he could play. I think that they'll kind of hold him out. I don't think that we'll see him the rest of summer league, but for the time that we did see him, he was really, really entertaining, and he was everything as advertised as well. I was really, really pleased as a Blazers fan with what I saw, and it, as bad as I know their record might be, most likely not going to be a playoff contending team next season. I'm excited for the moments that Scoot Henderson will give in the upcoming regular season. I'm excited for Scoot Henderson in a Blazers uniform very much.
Yeah, I think they'll be one of the not better teams, but more fun teams to watch this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets have been a team kind of to mention as well, as they've got a couple of guys. Alvin Thompson, the fourth overall pick, he goes out in game one as well, but he had a pretty solid game that first game. He showed some pretty athletic flashes as well. He knocked down an outside shot, and he looks everything as advertised as well. So I think the Rockets definitely got a good guy in Alvin Thompson. But I mean, along with that too, I think that they have the best summer league team.
Yeah,
Jabari Smith is leading summer league in scoring, and he, after I guess the first half of play, has been easily the best player in summer league. Tari Eason's put together a great summer league. Cam Whitmore, their 20th overall pick, who somehow fell that far. I still don't understand why Cam Whitmore fell to the 20th pick. He's put together a solid summer league. Houston's got a bright future as well, and I know that they picked up guys in free agency that we'll talk about here later in the episode. But those guys, all the guys that we see that are standing out on Houston's summer league team, will likely be in that rotation
yeah,
in some capacity at least. They've been, I think, the most impressive team, um, and they've got a lot to look forward to, which is something that you really couldn't say with Houston as of like even a year ago.
yeah. Jabari, I think easily has been the best player. Not, I won't say easily, but lately it's been easily. But yeah, like I said, they got a bright future. I'm glad they're letting their second year and younger guys play through and not sitting them out.
Yeah, me too. Those guys, yeah, they definitely needed that run, and I'm glad they are getting that experience and the ability to kind of get into form going into the season. They'll have head coach Ime Udoka as well. They picked up Fred VanVleet, Dylan Brooks, some veteran guys. They picked up Jeff Green as well,
Yeah,
ultra vet. So yeah, they'll have that presence in the locker room, which I think has been necessary for the Rockets for a little while now. I think that they've needed that for a few seasons. And I think that it's time for them to really start their way back to the top. I think that they've hit their rock bottom. I think they've been at the bottom, and now they're working their way back up. So it's good to see for the Rockets going forward. They've definitely been very impressive in summer league. I guess last couple notes about summer league going forward. We've seen the height of, I guess, the best play. Of course, we'll still have the semifinals and the championship coming up this weekend. Um, But some other guys who've really stood out in summer league to me, Keontae George. Keontae George was kind of slipped in the draft as well. I thought that he would probably go a little higher than he did in the teens to Utah. I think him being injured in the college season definitely affected that a little bit. But Keontae George is the second leading scorer in summer league, averaging 30 points a game. And if you look at some of his knocks in his draft scouting, he was labeled as not a great shooter, a great volume shooter. He's come out and he's attempted over 12 threes a game, and he's shooting over 40% from three in the summer league. So he's kind of putting all that to bed pretty quickly. He's
yeah,
also third in assists in summer league, so he's showing that he has that aspect of his game as well, and he's really making a case to be an important part of that Utah roster going into next season. He's been very impressive.
yeah. I agree. He's been my summer league standout. Shoot, like you said, shooting the ball well, getting 7, 8 assists. I think he had 10 or 11 the other night with 30 points. Yeah, I saw that too. Like the draft notes or what his like weakness is, and they said he actually he put it on his phone as a wallpaper So
Yeah,
like he just kind of looks at it. But yeah, that was a steal for Utah, in my opinion.
for sure. 100%. And I guess we couldn't even really say that at the time because I think that's in our mock draft. That's about where we had him around.
Yeah,
So he's putting all that to bed from everybody. I guess he's really um, coming out to play. A couple other names who I've mentioned that we can just touch on pretty quickly. Lester Quinones is a guy who might take over that Jordan Poole role on the Golden State Warriors. Has a lot of the same game. I've watched him for a while. He came out of University of Memphis, so he's been on my radar for a long time. And even last year, the Warriors G League system, he had a lot of 40-point games. I think he averaged up around 25, 26 points a game with the Santa Cruz Warriors. And with Jordan Poole going away, they kind of need someone to step up into that role off the bench, and that will likely be Lester Quinones at this point. We've seen that their first-round rookie Brandon Podziemski has been pretty solid too for that Warriors team. He's a good playmaker. So it looks like the Warriors might have their answer post Jordan Poole. Might not have the same volume, might not have the same impact early on, but I think that they've got a guy in that mold in Lester Quinones, and he's been pretty impressive.
yeah. Like I say, he's another standout. He's been really good. I think this first game he had 30,
Mm-hmm.
close to it, if not more. But yeah, I think he'll be a maybe not beginning of the season, but I think he'll end up being a good rotation guy off the bench for them, especially scoring the ball.
Yeah. I guess the last thing about Summer League that I wanted to touch on were some of the guys we've seen in their second years come out and kind of experimented with their game in ways that we haven't really seen from them in their first year or even in their college days. I think the prime example of that has been Jalen Duren of the Detroit Pistons has come out and he shot a couple threes in his first Summer League game, which is something that he didn't even attempt once in his rookie season last year. And he came out and he made a three in his first Summer League game. And I'm glad to see some of the second year guys come out and do things like that. A lot of guys on that Rockets team kind of add some aspects of their game. Some guys on the Pistons, guys on the Orlando Magic. We've seen Benedict Mathurin come out and try to work on his playmaking aspect of his game for the Pacers team as well.
Yeah,
So that's an interesting part of Summer League. It's an interesting little quirk to it that I think shouldn't go unnoticed. Are those second year guys who may not play the entire Summer League, but really come in solely to work on parts of their game that they think can be improved upon.
yeah. Like I said, Chet, second year guy. I mean, he didn't play last year, but I'm kind of glad he's playing, and he's looked pretty good as well. So yeah, I'm glad these second year guys are going in trying to, I guess, work on their game and try stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. It's always interesting to see every summer league, the second year guys who do play and the guys who sit out. Like we saw, even before Vegas Summer League, we saw Keegan Murray come into that first California Classic game, score 41 points, and they said, "All right, that's enough. We've seen enough from you, Keegan. You obviously are on a higher level than everyone else here, so you can just go take a seat for the rest of Summer League." You had J-Dub, Jalen Williams play one game with the Thunder. A lot of the players on that Thunder team, like Chet Holmgren and J-Dub and Trey Mann, um, they were 1-2 game players, and then they go and sit
Yeah,
uh, along with those Rockets guys. And of course, we see the top draft prospects that usually happens from this year with Wembanyama, and I expect that we've seen about all of Brandon Miller up to this point. Although I don't know with the struggles that he had early in summer league, but that's usually how it goes. That's usually how the standard is set, and yeah,
yeah. I think a lot of the top groups are probably done, unless they just a team cares about winning the summer league championship.
yeah. Could you tell me who won last year's summer league, Jacob?
Yeah, the Blazers. Yeah,
Blazers won it, yeah. Biggest accomplishment for the Blazers in like 4 years, winning the summer league, trying to go back to back, baby. Big rings. Those are the rings we're chasing. We're chasing summer league rings. Um, man. But yeah, summer league's been so fun this year. It's been the best it's ever been, and like I said, I had FOMO from missing out on it. And like Jacob said before, um, hopefully whenever we're higher up in the ranks and we have, media access of some kind, maybe, maybe one day, we'll have to slide to Vegas and, be involved in the summer league because it looks like a really, really good time. Not even just the on-court activity, but all the players who are there as well, all the media members, just in an open gym, just with free access to everybody. It looks like it's a really, really good time.
Yeah, it looks like a fun experience. Like even outside of watching the games, just everybody that's there.
Oh yeah.
I know players just walk around outside of the games. They have their own podcasts. Like some of the players hosted their podcast in Vegas, so just like looks like a fun time.
Yeah. Got to go at least once. Going into free agency now, we saw free agency, I guess, kind of conclude in most of it. We still have a couple of free agents left. Christian Wood still available, Kelly Oubre, Kendrick Nunn,
Yeah,
Will Barton. So some names like that are still available. But for the most part, free agency has concluded. So we'll give some winners and losers before we conclude this episode today. Um, Jacob, I'll start with you. Do you want to give a winner or a loser first? What sticks out the most to you?
I'll give a winner.
Right.
I think it's the most. I think it's the most obvious one. I think it's the Lakers.
Yeah, they were
Which,
on my.
yeah, they didn't really lose anybody. I don't think.
Like
Maybe,
Malik Beasley. That's it.
yeah, Malik Beasley. So they brought a lot of their main playoff guys back, like Reeves, Russell, Hachimura. Um, they brought in Gabe Vincent. They brought in who was one like who was it? It was Gabe Vincent. I think they lost Lonnie Walker.
Yeah, they lost Lonnie Walker, Mo Bamba, and Malik Beasley, guys who are like fringe rotation players.
Yeah, I think brought in Vincent. A few more names, and I think Vincent will be really good off the bench. There's some people saying it could be Deal off the bench, but I don't see that happen. I think it'll be Gabe. But I think they really just kind of rounded their roster out really well, in my opinion. Like the bench, kind of improved the bench, and yeah, I think they're the clear winners of free agency.
Yeah. Like you mentioned with Gabe Vincent, I think that was a really good pickup, one of the more underrated pickups of free agency. I think that he's a good assist to turnover ratio and a good just kind of he's very Mike Conley esque. I think Gabe Vincent, he doesn't demand the ball all that much. He can play off the ball. He's a good playmaker, and he just rolls in the offense. He doesn't go outside the offense to get his production. I think that's a perfect guy for that Lakers system. They also picked up Taurean Prince. Taurean Prince is a guy who I expect to be in their rotation. He's a 3-and-D player, perfect guy to have alongside LeBron in that offense. The perfect LeBron teammate, a 3-and-D wing, who I think I heard shoots over 40% on catch and shoot threes. Catch and shoot corner threes, he shoots like 45%. So that's perfect for, to have LeBron and AD as teammates who will do most of the playmaking and scoring. Um, they also pick up Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish as well, who are guys who I don't expect to be in the, opening day rotation. But hey, take flyers on those young guys, have them, under the wing of LeBron and Anthony Davis. Why not? Why not take a flyer on those guys and see if you can, get something out of them that they haven't really shown on other teams yet. So I think the Lakers are clear winners as well.
I think the best thing outside of Vincent, I think all those contracts are relatively low contracts, like minimums and
Yeah.
1-2 year deals. Even Gabe Vincent, his deal, I think was a really good deal. I think it was, huh?
The Austin Reeves contract too, 4 years,
Oh, yeah,
52 for Austin Reeves. That's a steal.
yeah, they stole it.
Absolute steal.
The longer it went, I thought somebody else was going to offer him, like San Antonio or somebody would have offered him a lot of money. But that was a good contract. I think Vincent was 3 year, 33 million, I think, around that range. So they didn't have to spend a whole lot of money. It's like, you know, brought in guys on cheap contracts or low risk, higher ceiling move.
Yeah, value contracts for the Lakers was the name of the game, and they got it done. They got it done. They brought in some good players for good money, and I think that they are primed to be one of the top teams in the Western Conference this year.
Yeah.
I think they are. I think they're up there in that echelon with Denver and Phoenix up there at the top. I think the
Yeah.
Lakers are, as long as, of course, they're healthy. We always bring up with them. Um, what we saw last year, once they got to the conference finals. So
Yeah,
I think they're primed for another good run.
yeah. It's crazy to say the way we were talking about it last summer. We didn't even want to talk about them, how bad we thought they were going to be.
I mean, even in the regular season last year, we thought the Lakers were doomed.
Yeah,
They've really kind of turned it around. Shout out to Rob Pelinka. Rob Pelinka has done his job, bringing in guys at last year's trade deadline, and then building upon that here in free agency. And who knows? They may not be done. They may have another move to make before the season starts.
yeah, very possible.
Yeah. My first winner, though, I'm gonna go with the Phoenix Suns. I'm gonna go with the Phoenix Suns. No real huge moves in free agency after trading for Bradley Beal, as not much could be done.
Yeah,
But they rounded out their roster really nicely, I thought. A lot of guys on minimum contracts, guys with the mid-level exception type money. They bring in Eric Gordon, they bring in Damian Lee, they bring in Drew Eubanks, they bring in Yuta Watanabe, and they bring in Keita Bates-Diop. I think that at least 3 or 4 of those guys will be rotational players for them.
yeah,
Not to mention they bring in Chimezi Metu as well, who probably won't be a rotation player. And they also bring back Josh Okogie. I think that it was really important to bring back Josh Okogie as well, as he's a good perimeter defender, which is something I thought that they lacked. Um, I think Josh Okogie will be a starter on that team. I think it will be Beal, Booker, Okogie, Durant, Ayton. I think that will be their starting lineup. I know I've seen a lot of Eric Gordon starting for them, but I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that they need that defensive punch, and I think that's what Josh Okogie offers. I guess the one gripe you can say with Phoenix too is that they still have DeAndre Ayton. Um, but I
yeah,
mean, they believe in him. I guess they still believe in DeAndre Ayton. Frank Vogel said that on his way in, and I think with the cards that they were dealt to surround their big three, they did a pretty solid job of doing that. Watanabe, one of the best percentage 3-point shooters in the NBA. Keita Bates-Diop, a 3-and-D wing who has great length. And Drew Eubanks, as a Blazer fan last year, I watched 82 games of Drew Eubanks, and he, was a great energy big. Makes solid defensive plays. He's not going to be, overwhelmingly good off your bench, but he'll be solid. He'll be solid off that not Utah, Phoenix bench. I think that he'll take that role of Jock Landale. I think that he'll do a lot of the same things that he did. So yeah, I think Phoenix did well with what they could.
yeah. So, like I said, they were limited. They didn't have a lot of money to throw around. But they did bring in a few rotational guys. I think the defense is still the biggest thing for me, and the depth isn't great, but it's not as bad as we thought it'd be. Um, so yeah, I think they really did a good job trying to, and they did it all early too. They did like within the first 2 days of it, so they kind of did what they could do. They kind of got the roster, I guess, sort of set. Unless of a big Ayton trade on the way.
For sure, definitely. Give me your second win team of free agency, Jacob. We go ahead and get the win teams out the way, then we can get into the losers.
I think my second win team is going to be Milwaukee, Milwaukee Bucks, because they brought everybody back, or they brought the 2 main guys they wanted back. Chris Middleton, I think, was a 3-year, $100 million contract. Brook Lopez came back on I forgot his contract, but 2 really important parts to the team, especially if they want to contend and go for another championship with Giannis and those 3, and even Drew Holiday. I think it's really important to get them guys back, and I think I don't. Did they sign anybody else like for?
They signed Malik Beasley.
Yeah, Beasley. I think was a minimum, which that's not bad.
Yeah, I'm
Well,
going down the list here. No, I don't see anybody else they signed. They basically brought back their guys. Robin Lopez came with Brook Lopez as a part of that deal, of course.
yeah.
But yeah, no, they just basically brought back their guys.
Well, yeah, I like that for them. That was really important because I'm sure even for you, they were the title favorites last year. I think going in, and most of the year until the first round. So I think they're still going to be up there bringing those same guys back. They're still probably, if not, I don't know if they're the favorite, but they're one of the top favorites for a championship this year. Bringing those guys back.
Yeah, anytime, like as long as Milwaukee keeps that core, and as long as they're not aging,
Yeah.
I guess you can't really say that about Lopez because he's pretty old, but he still gives you really solid production for his age. As long as Milwaukee keeps that core, they're going to be at the top of the contenders for me. So it was very important to bring those guys back. Of course, I said Chris Middleton was priority number one. I don't think that there was ever any worry about him leaving.
Yeah.
You
No.
know, saw some things with Brook Lopez potentially, going to the Houston Rockets, or I said on here that I thought that he would end up a Phoenix Sun, even maybe. So it was really important for them to bring Brook Lopez back, and they did that. They brought back Jake Crowder, um, who didn't have great production for them in the time that he spent with them last year, but maybe in year two he's better. Malik Beasley's a guy who can come in and shoot the three ball. We saw him do that in Utah last year. Didn't really do a great job of that with the Lakers, but I think in a new setting, maybe he gets back to that form like he was in Utah. I think alongside Giannis, there will definitely be opportunities for that. So yeah, Milwaukee, pretty solid free agency for the Milwaukee Bucks.
Yeah. Very important for them.
Yeah, I guess my second winner, I'm gonna go with the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with the Mavericks. Of course, bringing back Kyrie Irving on a pretty solid deal. I thought it was a solid deal. 3-year deal, 120 million. Not bad for Kyrie Irving. I thought he would get more money. The years, I like that it's only a 3-year deal. So I think that contract was very, very team friendly for the Mavericks. And the guys that they brought in, they bring in Grant Williams for 4 years, 53. Value on that contract, I'm not so sure about, but I think Grant Williams will have a more extended role
Yeah.
with the Mavericks than he did even in Boston. So yeah, why not? That's a team that needs a defensive kind of minded guy, and Grant Williams can do that. He can shoot the corner three pretty well. They bring in Seth Curry. They bring Seth Curry back on what I thought was a great value contract. Seth Curry is a guy that may even start for them. Maybe. He'll be in that rotation for sure. A guy who still shoots really, really well. Really good volume from three. I think that's very necessary to have alongside Luka on that team. They brought back Dwight Powell as well for basically no money. So yeah, sure, why not? I think Dallas, with what they could do, I think that they got a lot of solid things done. I don't think that it pushes them into contention necessarily, but they will be better than the 11th seed this next season. I can almost guarantee Dallas will be better than that.
Yeah. It's I'm glad they got Grant Williams. It's been rumored. Dallas and Grant's been kind of rumored to happen for a while. I like that move, like you said. I don't think they finished 11th, but the West is loaded, so we have to see how I guess all the pieces they brought in fit together.
Mm,
And we get a full season of Kyrie and Luka now, not
right,
not what I think it was like 20, 30 games
right,
somewhere
yeah,
in there. So yeah, I'm kind of glad they brought the pieces in that they brought in.
yeah. And they drafted Derek Lively at 12, which I think was a really good draft pick. I think that he'll be in that rotation.
Yeah, I don't think we mentioned them, but Jaden Hardy, I think he can come off the bench some for him too. So
Yeah, James Harden.
he's been really good for the summer league team. So I think he'll get some rotation minutes this year.
Oh yeah, for sure. Loser time though. Loser time. Who's your first loser, Jacob?
I'm gonna have to go Houston.
Okay.
It's I mean I don't want to say they are, but I mean they are. Given Fred Van Vliet, what was it? I think 3 year, 130 million.
Yeah.
Dylan Brooks, I think 4 year. I think it was reported 80 million, but I think it's up to 90 million. I think it's like
Yeah.
85 up to 90.
With
Uh,
incentive, yeah, I think.
yeah. They brought in Jock Landale for a 4 year, 32 million, I think, which is a lot for him. But I
Yeah.
think only the first year is guaranteed, so it's not too bad. But I don't like I like Fred Van. Ooh, I can't even say I like Fred Van Vliet, but because they got too many young players. Now you brought in guys that are kind of going to compete with those young players and take some minutes. You saw that we've seen that they had to trade some young guys away, I guess, to open up more minutes. But I guess for the veteran leadership, the kind of culture they want to set, it was good signings. But for I guess the money and the length of it for the future is kind of questionable, in my opinion.
Yeah. Um, I think that the Rockets free agency was 100% a product of the newly instated salary floor.
Yeah.
I think 100% that's what influenced a lot of the decisions they made with a lot of the value contracts that they brought on. They had to meet a certain threshold, and which meant that they had to give a couple players a certain amount of money. And Fred VanVleet ultimately got over $40 million a year, and Dylan Brooks got over $20 million a year, which on any other team would be very unlikely. But because the Rockets came into free agency with over $60 million to have to spend, that's what they did. That's what they decided to do. And even with Jack Landale's contract, like you said, Jack Landale should not be getting $9 million a season. Um, so yeah, the value contracts for Houston are a little strange. Um, and maybe it does take away from the growth opportunities for their young guys too, like you said. But I think that there was definitely a product of the landscape of the NBA. I
Yeah.
think that with what they had to do, I don't think that they did a poor job. They just kind of got put in a scenario where they had to give all that money. And I think Dylan Brooks is a good player to have on the Houston Rockets. He's a guy that I don't think will take away from a lot of offensive production. I think that he'll be a pretty good defensive leader. Fred VanVleet's a guy who will come in and he'll put up his shots. He'll do his thing. He'll be a starter on that team, of course.
Yeah.
And I just hope it doesn't take away from the young guys. Is the biggest thing I can say with Houston.
Yes. Like I said, the players I don't mind, but it's the year is kind of the growth. But I like the moves, but they're questionable.
Yeah. I guess for my first loser, I'll go with the Sacramento Kings.
Really?
And yeah, the only reason I'm going to go with the Sacramento Kings is because of the guys that we saw that could potentially be linked to them.
Yeah.
Not really conveying. We saw Jeremy Grant potentially be linked to the Sacramento Kings. And of course, he re-signed with Portland. We saw Kyle Kuzma. Kyle Kuzma re-signed with Washington, and they brought their guys back. So I guess it was more boring than a failure. I don't think it was a failure. I just think that they brought their guys back, and I think we were looking for them to kind of make a splash, to take that next step forward. And I
Yeah.
know that there's a European guy that they picked up who was like the EuroLeague MVP and is supposed to be really good. So they've got him to look forward to. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but yeah, I think just based off of our expectations of the outlying guys that they could have brought in, they didn't do that. So I think that that's why Sacramento is technically a loser for me. I don't think that they, like I said, failed in any way. I think that they'll still be a good team. Um, but yeah, that's my criteria for Sacramento here.
Yeah, like I said, they didn't brought out, I think, like you said, the from overseas, but I'm kind of glad they kept most of it together though. Didn't really trade anybody away or anything. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I mean, got them a 3 seed, and in the playoffs. So we'll see. I guess they want to try to keep them together, see what happens.
yeah, I can't knock it. I can't knock it. I guess it was just the guys at the top who were available who I thought could really like having Jeremy Grant on that team with De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis and Malik Monk and all those guys. That would be an amazing, amazing fit.
But
So I think just thinking, um, about that kind of, knocked them down for me a little bit. Second sell team. I mean, not sell team. Loser. Who's your last loser, Jacob?
ooh, it's kind of tough.
Not many outright losers this free agency. I
Yeah,
guess you can go off of value contracts, but not
I
really any outright losers, I could say.
I want to say Miami, just for the fact that we don't know what the Dame trade is yet. Like
Yeah.
we assume he's going to Miami, more than likely. 90%, 95% chance. But they really didn't bring anybody in besides Thomas Bryant. I think it might have been just Thomas Bryant. They lost Gabe Vincent, lost Max Strus. Um, Kyle Lowry got a year older. and I think they brought back Kevin Love, but they really didn't do anything to address any needs. But like I said, that's basically they're waiting for the Dame trade to happen. Then they kind of might try to fill out the roster after that, but till it happens, they're kind of like stuck where they're at. I think right now.
Yeah, I Miami's still up in the air for me. I thought about putting them in my losers, but if they get Dame, of course you can't say
Yeah.
that because they get a great player,
Right.
uh, and it makes up for losing Gabe Vincent and Max Strus. I mean, and Victor Oladipo. I mean, they pick up. They re-sign Kevin Love. They pick up Thomas Bryant. They pick up Josh Richardson,
Yeah.
who will be on his second stint as a member of the Miami Heat. So I mean, they pick up some guys who will likely be in that rotation. But yeah, I think that there's still, of course, we all know there's still so much left on the table for the Miami Heat. So I was hesitant to, include them in anything regarding free agency because we knew that their play
Yeah.
was for Dame, or in the past we knew that they were linked with Bradley Beal before he signed with Phoenix as well. So we knew that their biggest moves would come via trade and not free agency.
Yeah. I think they. I don't think they planned on doing anything. I think they just thought the Dame trade was happening no matter what, or the Dame request.
Yeah. I guess my last loser, and it's not because they necessarily did anything bad. You can't really say any team did anything bad, I would say, at this point.
Yeah.
But the Chicago Bulls, are my second loser team. They are just kind of stuck with no direction right now. You got their core with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. They re-signed Vooch this offseason, Nikola Vucevic for 3 years, $60 million. They're just kind of stuck. This is a team
Yeah.
that will likely be, a play-in team, and I think it's time for them to hit the reset button. I think it's been time for them for about a year now. They bring back Kobe White as well. They bring in some pretty good players, some pretty good defensive players, and Javon Carter and Torrey Craig. But
Yeah.
they didn't really address their biggest problem, which was their 3-point shooting and their 3-point volume shooting. They shot the least amount of threes of anybody in the league last year by a pretty wide margin. Those guys aren't guys who are going to come and put a lot of shots up and at a good clip either. So I think the Chicago Bulls are just perpetually stuck right now until they make a move regarding either Zach LaVine or DeMar DeRozan, which we've seen they could do. But I think until that happens, they will be stuck kind of in no man's land. And that's the worst place to be in the NBA.
Yeah. Because they're not going to be the worst in the conference. They're not going to be the best. They're like so they're going to be stuck in the middle. Not a high draft pick. Not a low one. Um. Yeah. It's time for a reset. And like you said, it's been Zach LaVine rumors, especially lately. I think they're in the same boat as Toronto. It's time to reset. It's just they don't. If I don't know if they don't want to or they just don't want to have to start all the way over.
Yeah. Before we close this episode, I think it's important for each of us to note because since last episode, we briefly touched on the James Harden trade request that had just taken place right before our last episode, and the Dame trade request had not happened yet. So both of those still leave a lot on the table with potential offers that could be made.
Yeah.
Um, so Jacob, talk about the Sixers free agency because you mentioned before we started recording that you might mention the Sixers as a loser, but of course we still know that there's a lot to be potentially done with James Harden.
Yeah.
So where do you sit on the state of the Sixers right now? I just want to know.
I think a lot of trades are kind of waiting on the Dame trade to fall through. I think once that happens, then because there's multiple teams that think they can get Dame, no package wise, not if he wants to go there. Um, like the Clippers, which that's the only team Harden's been linked to, but they've been linked to Dame too, and I'm pretty sure they'd rather have Dame. Uh, but other than that, Philly hasn't signed anybody except Mo Bamba and Patrick Beverly. I think they brought back Montrezl Harrell, all on minimums. I think we got like 5 centers on the roster. I don't know why. Brought back Paul Reed, matched his offer, but other than that, honestly, I think they're taking this as not a gap year, but hey, let's run it back. Let's see what happens. And then next offseason they have two max spots to kind of give out. whether it be Maxi and somebody else, but they're setting themselves up to have a lot of cap space next offseason, which I like, but you're kind of throwing this year away. You still can compete. I mean, they still can be contenders depending on what happens. If Harden gets traded, but not. I'm not gonna say they got worse losing some of the players, but they not didn't improve.
Yeah. Um, the whole gap year thing is, I guess, just the thing that you got to get past. The thing that you've got to kind of sell to Joel Embiid,
Yeah,
uh, who's up around 30 years old at this point, is in the prime of his career. You don't really want to waste the prime years of Joel Embiid. But of course, if you can, be a better team going forward, hopefully, he can get on board with that. I don't know though. I've had an inkling that Joel Embiid might ask out for a little while now. Um,
I don't think it's happening. At least not. Depends on what happens this year and next free agency, maybe, because there's been reports that he's very happy still in the organization.
yeah.
But
One thing that I want to mention before this episode concludes is about the Dame trade request. Obviously, as a fan, it upsets me to know that Dame will likely no longer be on the team. It's really, really weird to think about going forward that we're going to be rolling out a lot of 19, 20, 21, 22-year-olds,
yeah,
and Dame won't be the leader of the team. So, yeah, it's going to be weird. But just looking objectively at a Dame from Dame's perspective, the only team that he's listed so far is Miami. He wants to be in Miami, um, and I don't expect him to end up there. I don't think that Dame will end up in Miami, and this is why. This is my basis. Of course, package Portland does not like Miami's package. They do not like Tyler Hero. They do not like the picks that Miami would have to offer. So there would have to be a third or likely a fourth team involved for Dame to end up in Miami. So here's what I think will happen. I just want to mention as an example, the last two guys who have, requested trades and have listed one location that they would want to go to. You know who those last two guys are, Jacob?
Kevin Durant and James Harden.
No. Well, I guess James Harden now, but before
Yeah.
Donovan Mitchell, before last season,
Oh yeah.
wanted to be a New York Knick. It's common knowledge that Donovan Mitchell wanted to be a New York Knick, and he may be a New York Knick after this next season, as he'll be a free agent. Um, Donovan Mitchell did not end up a free New York Knick though, because Utah did not like what the Knicks could offer, so he ended up in Cleveland, and we saw that Utah got a pretty nice return from the Cleveland Cavaliers, um, with Colin Sexton and all the picks that they got back with Ochai Agbaji as well. Um, and then before that, I don't know if Kevin Durant came before Kawhi Leonard, but Kawhi Leonard was the one that I thought of whenever he was leaving San Antonio. He wanted to end up in LA. He wanted to end up out there, and he got shipped to Toronto.
Yeah.
So we see a lot of the times where players, have a very short list or maybe even one destination that they want to go to, and it just doesn't happen because, as much as the organizations want to do right by that player, they still have a job to do and they still
Yeah.
have a team to field, and they're going to do the best job that they can to do so. So I think Portland's in that exact same situation, which is likely why we're going to see this get drug out for, several months before anything, comes to fruition, because Portland's going to get the best package they can get back for Damian Lillard. And it's just scouring the market to see if they can find that before, potentially doing business with Miami. Miami's, the one that they can fall back on if they, absolutely have to.
Yeah.
Personally, I don't think it's a terrible, terrible package, but I wouldn't like it. I still wouldn't like it.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, I think that that's the spot that Portland's in. So I think that we'll see them go very slowly through this, and that they'll take everything into account. That's
Yeah.
what I
Like
say.
you said, it's going to be a 3 or 4 team. It's going to be multiple teams involved if he does go to Miami. I think. Like you said, there's been multiple teams rumored. I think Philly's been rumored. Clippers, Knicks, almost every team basically. Um, but I think he ends up in Miami. I think it'll be Miami or Who do you think he'll go to if it's not Miami?
I can't give you a team right now.
I mean,
I can't give you a team.
I know one of the other teams was Philadelphia, but I know they're not. They said they're not trading Tyrese Maxey, and that'd be the main piece. But I
I,
think it's Miami or like Clippers maybe.
yeah, I've listed teams that I would like a return package for. I've given you those teams.
Yeah,
I've given the New Orleans
right.
or the Utah or the Oklahoma City. A lot of those Eastern Conference teams, the packages just don't really entice me
Yeah,
that much. But I know that that's likely where he will end up. So that's why I think that it will still be a 3-4 team deal. But those three teams that I mentioned are the packages I like the most, where you could get, a Trey Murphy, Dyson Daniels pick return from the New Orleans Pelicans or from Utah. You get a lot of those picks from the Rudy Gobert trade. But what use do they have with Damian Lillard? So there would have to be a third team involved, um, regardless of where Dame ends up. So Miami could still be involved in that, of course, and
yeah,
they would be the team to be. But it's, either finding those other teams to get involved or just potential suitors for a straight up deal.
yeah. Like I think I saw it's gonna take probably two players and like four first round picks around that
That's
range.
that's Portland's like base asking price.
Yeah, so this could take all summer. Hopefully not into the season, but hey, it could. But
Yeah, I wouldn't like it to go into the season. I think
yeah,
it would be a little awkward. I think it would, um, yeah, I think it'd be weird.
yeah, they'd have to do it before the season.
Yeah. Anyways, though, I guess I'll wrap up the episode today. Um, Getting into the real summertime stuff. Around this time last year, we did hot takes, so we might bring hot takes back. That might be the next episode you see. Maybe another debate episode like we did last year. And then after all that good jazz, we get into the position player rankings where we're going to do rankings this year instead of tier lists. We're going to do a top 10s by position. So that should be really interesting to get into. That's kind of the schedule going forward, going into August and maybe even early September before we get into, preseason predictions and stuff. So be on the lookout for all that coming soon. Um, Before we close today, though, Jacob, do you have anything else that you want to add?
Did you want to bring up like the in season tournament, or it's not really much to it though?
Yeah, I can't really explain it very well still, so I don't even want to try. Um, yeah, yeah,
I think we could talk about it when more comes out about it. I think.
yeah. We can talk about it like whenever it comes around, like for real. Whenever because I've seen all the stuff about it, but a lot of it just goes in one ear and out the
Yeah,
other.
it's
So
it's confusing. It is confusing.
yeah, I mean y'all can look that stuff up on your own time too. Yeah. Anyways, though, we'll sign out for now. We'll see y'all soon, and peace out.
Yeah.